We are going to look at some important connectors and instructions with respect to IELTS Writing Task 2. As you're aware, it is common among both general as well as academic students. You should not take more than 40 minutes for this task, and your word count should not go below 250. Remember, there are two examiners assessing your write-ups. One is your local examiner and one would be sitting in an English-speaking country. So you have to impress two examiners. Please bear that in mind. Now let's have a look at some connectors with respect to both agree as well as disagreeing statements. The phrases are: I completely agree, I wholeheartedly agree, I entirely disagree, I vehemently reckon, I opine that, I firmly believe that, I'm of the view that, in my opinion, as per my point of view. The ones on the right hand side are more apt for colloquial English. I feel, I realize, I can see, I suppose, I believe, I imagine, I'm convinced, and I suspect. So even in IELTS speaking, you can use these phrases. A typical error made by many of us is in the usage of according to me. It is incorrect because according to implies as stated by or reported by. So the right collocations would be according to a recent report, according to a poll, according to instructions, according to Mark. You use it for third person, but you cannot use it for yourself. When you wish to validate your stance or give reasons, or you want to link the ideas together, you use the following connectors. Firstly, secondly, thirdly, moreover, furthermore, in addition, additionally, also. A very good structure is for one thing, for another. This entails three statements. You make a statement or give a statement and then give two reasons behind it. The Indian government has allocated a sizable amount of money for the betterment of sports. For one thing, Indian sports persons have been performing exceptionally well in the international arena since the last few years. For another, it wants other sports to thrive and not just cricket. When you want to give another example, you use the phrase moving on to. This gets into the reader that you're not digressing from the topic, you're just moving into another sector or giving another example or an idea. And finally, when you want to give the last example, the ultimate one, you could use phrases like lastly, finally, and last but not the least. When you want to show that you're talking on the other side of the argument or want to show contrast, use one of these phrases. Every coin has two sides. It's a double-edged sword. A very good terminology which you can use is on one hand, on the other hand. For instance, some human beings mercilessly torture animals or savor their meat. On the other hand, they claim to be dog lovers. Having said that, in that sense can easily replace but. For instance, most Indians are proud of the landing of Chandrayaan-3 in the south pole of the moon. Having said that, some compatriots feel that those funds could be channelized for the upliftment of the poor. The next two phrases are in contrast and contrarily, and you can also use be it as it may. It is used when you acknowledge that a particular stance is true, but you vouch for the other side of the argument. To illustrate, our suburb has many construction projects underway. Be it as it may, its verdure needs to be protected. In spite of, despite, and notwithstanding can be used in a similar fashion in simple sentences, but notwithstanding the fact that has to be used in complex sentences. For instance, notwithstanding the fact that his family was struggling with financial constraints, he was steadfast in his decision to study abroad. And then you have however and but, nevertheless and nonetheless can easily supersede yet. He is a master's degree holder, nevertheless has been made redundant. Although, though, and even though mean the same thing. The last concluding paragraph is a must across all essays. If you leave it halfway or don't write it at all, you're likely to lose 0.5 bands. At the outset, you could use any of them. To conclude, in conclusion, to summarize, to recapitulate, in summary, in a nutshell, all in all, to sum up, and in a bird's eye view.